Oh. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the DMV Business Show. I'm your host, Otto Sevilla, and today I have a very special guest for you. We have Yasmine Zerhouni. She's the owner of the Capital Flower Fairy. Welcome to the show, Yasmine.
Thank you, Otto. It's my pleasure to be here.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you. Before we get into your personal story, if someone's hearing this and they haven't heard of the Capital Flower Fairy, if you can just give us an overview of who you guys are.
Yeah, of course. So, the Capital Flower Fairy is a company I founded a year ago. We focus on floral design, and we do everything ranging from events to personal deliveries of bouquets and arrangements. Um, we also, I'm trying to branch out to commercials and like branded photo shoots that require large floral installations. Um, I prefer to work with fresh or dried, but if it's like an outdoor installation that calls for silks, I would go that route. My preference and the reason why I started this was for fresh flowers.
That's great. I can't wait to get into as far as what led you to even start this business a year ago.
Yeah.
But before that, are you originally from the DMV area here?
No, so I was born in Dallas, Texas, but my parents moved back home to Algeria when I was four. So both of them are from Algeria, which is in North Africa. I grew up there and graduated high school at 16, then moved back to the US. I went attended the George Washington University and then graduated with an accounting and hospitality management degree. Worked in accounting for 3 years in audit. And then it was a very slow process for me to leave because I didn't know what I really wanted to do. I knew I had a passion for hospitality, but didn't want to work in a hotel. I loved the F&B industry, but didn't want to work in a restaurant either. So it was a very slow process for me to discover what my passion really was. It wasn't something I grew up knowing. Um, it I think it happened during COVID for me. Um, I started like watching videos on how to make arrangements, and it's weird because I wasn't even making them. I was just like learning about it, learning how to do it. It was just like something I would do for fun. And then slowly I started buying flowers, just putting them in vases, like in water, like nothing crazy. And then the first ever arrangement I made was 2021 when my younger brother was born. I just made one to celebrate that. And then my father saw it and he was like, "Wow, you should make one and just gift it to our building." So I did that and then they loved it. And I think that's how it started. I started posting on Instagram. Wasn't making any sales. I was just posting what I was making for home. And then I got my first sale from Julia Kent, who is a creative director at the Washington Ballet. And that was my first client. And then it just started from there. I started doing events and I left my job in February of last year. And yeah, that's where I am now.
I love it. There's so much to unpack here. I can go so many ways. How did even Julia Kent find you?
Instagram. Oh no, I'm
Ah,
sorry. No, that wasn't. I actually gifted an arrangement to the ballet, and she saw it when she walked in, and then she reached out on Instagram, and yeah, she made an order for one of their teachers who was celebrating a birthday, and yeah,
so this gifting, as far as you gifting the ballet, then you said you gifted to your, I think your dad's building where he resided.
yeah, yeah,
It sounds like it sort of helps open the doors, right?
yes, yes, definitely. I was I knew that it would help, but at the same time, I was doing it to create content. I wanted to build my Instagram, build my portfolio because in that industry everything is visual. You can't
Hmm.
like sell anything if you don't show anything. So that's how that was the initial intention with that. But I have to say it helped me not only like make my first sales, but also network with people, like just starting to gift around, repurposing what I was doing. And it really took, it was a huge step for me, like just doing that.
Where did you learn that? Was that a YouTube video?
No, I just knew flowers were dying. I didn't want them to go to waste.
Sure.
So I wanted people to enjoy them.
That's smart. Now, you did mention that you just started watching videos online, and
Yeah.
you said then you bought a flower or two and just put them in a vase. What made you even interested? Because you can watch videos about cooking, right? Or knitting or any other
Yeah.
subject. But what was
Yeah.
it about the flowers that piqued your interest?
That's a good question. Well, I think it was always in the back of my head that I loved flowers. I loved being surrounded by flowers. I think it started with my grandma. She used to have a very small balcony, but she always had crazy flowers in it. And I think I was always interested in what she was doing there, how she was planting them. And I think it was always there, but it took a while for me to actually like dig deeper and find that I wanted to live that passion. It
Hmm.
was, I feel like we all have something we're passionate about, but it sometimes takes years to uncover it. And for me, it took going through accounting to actually realize I needed to get out and really like, I think because I was in a space that I didn't see myself for a very long time,
Hmm.
I was really like trying to find what that passion was for me and really like exploring different things. So I think if you have a passion for something and it's really back in, in your subconscious, you just have to like research and try different things, watch different YouTube videos and yeah, I went through the cooking videos as well. I went through different things, but I mean, once you find it, then you'll know that's what really sparks, and you dig deeper.
So once you saw the videos on the flowers, you're like, "This is it. Let me try this and experiment and see
Yeah,
where it can lead."
yeah,
And it's interesting, Yasmin, how it started. You went back to memories when, how old were you when, as far as seeing your grandmother, I'm sorry, your grandmother in the balcony with her flowers and attending to them?
yeah. I was very young.
Was this here or where?
No, that was back home in Algiers.
Okay.
Um, she still lives in the same place, but I think now she only has one pot because she got older and it's too much for her to take care of. But since I can remember, she used to have like so many different types, and I was always like asking her about like different names, and she knew all of the names, and she would like tell me that what each one needed, and I just saw like that it was a lot to learn. Like she had so much knowledge that I don't even know how she knew all of these things. Like she didn't have the internet to just Google like, but she did, and I think it just amazed me. And we also like have a lot of flowers growing like in everywhere back home. So it was always like something I enjoyed a lot.
So you were born here, you said in Dallas, Texas, but then both of your
Yeah,
parents and you all went back home to Algeria, right?
yeah, yeah, yep, yep.
How was it? I know you were telling me right now about your grandmother back home, but how was it growing up there? Because most of your childhood and teenage years until you came here to GW for college was back home.
Yeah. So it was amazing growing up there. I'm very lucky that I got to learn and live through my heritage and understand my culture and didn't lose that, because even if I'm living here, it's still like part of who I am. So I'm very thankful that I actually got immersed into that culture. Um, so yeah, growing up there was great. I attended public middle school, then went to the French high school there, um, and took like the baccalaureate there. So I mean, it really opened my mind and the a lot of doors to me, because in that high school we it was very challenging, and I got to perfect my English before coming to the US. I got to speak French fluently, Arabic, and I got to grow up around my family, which is something I miss a lot now. Like I don't have that, but I'm very grateful for these years, especially the years with my grandparents, because my grandpa is not here anymore, and I got those years with him, so I'm very, very grateful.
That's great. How many languages
Yeah.
do you know?
So now I speak English, Arabic, French, a little bit of Spanish. I need to work on my Spanish. Yeah, but it's very, very useful. I mean, um, it's not, I can't take any credit for it because I grew up, I mean, I'm not the only one. Everyone who went to my high school speaks three languages.
Hmm.
Uh, but I have to say, like, it's great. It's great knowing all of these languages.
Yeah, I believe that depending on where you are, of course, in the world, but more international, it's more common to come across someone who knows more than one language compared to here. Even though
Yeah,
America is a huge immigrant country,
yeah,
from
yeah.
different nationalities, but you do, I think, find it more often abroad.
That's true. That's very true. Um, and I mean, it's 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 a chance that I have. I have to say, yeah, I feel very lucky that my parents got me through that system, and that I left high school knowing those three languages.
Yeah. So you said after GW and majoring in hospitality and accounting, you decided to go into the audit side of things,
Yes.
which I understand because my wife's a CPA.
Oh,
And she did audit in college as an internship, and she decided to go the taxes route instead of the audit
okay.
route. So she's still doing that. And while in accounting, doing auditing,
Hmm.
that's when you picked up this interest on the side of the flowers,
Yeah.
correct?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So for me, I started with audit right away, right after graduating. I had interned in audit while studying, so I had lined up the job for my after graduating, and I it was going well. I was starting to get promoted. I got to senior, and then like right after you're a senior, the next promotion would be manager. And if you want to be a manager in audit, you have to have your CPA, as I'm sure you already know. Um, so that's why the time was sticking for me. It was like either I commit to this, and if I'm taking the CPA, I better stay and stick to accounting, or I found a way out. And I think that's what really helped, having that added pressure. But yeah, like you said, I did it on the side for a while before leaving my job. I didn't like leave right away. Um, so that's what I would suggest doing if you're thinking of switching careers. Like try to do both for a while before you make a switch.
So on the side, that's when you started gifting,
Yeah, yeah.
arrangements to people. But it wasn't until last year, you said, Yasmin, that the Capital Flower Fairy was actually established.
Yes. I started making a few sales here and there before leaving. Um, but it wasn't I didn't have my first event until afterwards.
So what made you, because if someone's listening to this and they're like, I think I found my calling, whatever that may be, but
Yeah.
I'm afraid to jump, right? And leave my W-2 and my benefits and everything
Yeah.
else. How it was fairly recent, just a year ago. So how did you work through all that in your mind as far as finally making
Um,
that jump and decision?
So I didn't ask myself too many questions. I mean, of course, you have to ask yourself the reasonable questions. You have to take into account how many expenses you have, um, and what types of revenue you can bring in. For me, I knew I could go into freelancing, and I wasn't afraid about losing the benefits or having a huge pay cut. I knew as part of the process. Um, and I would say, like, really don't ask yourself too many questions. Ask yourself the important ones, but don't doubt yourself. and don't, because it's very easy to dissuade yourself from doing something and making that big of a jump. So if I think back again to how, like, my thought process, I realized that I really didn't go through a lot of questions. I just jumped because I knew I loved it. I knew I could go far with it. I trusted my ability to work and my ability to find a job if anything happened and I had to go back.
Hmm.
So I think, yeah, just trust yourself, trust your ability to go far in that project, and that's how I did it for me.
Before this happened, you said you had done a couple sales here and there, but nothing big from what you mentioned. So
Yeah,
did you have any savings in place or anything to hold you up to when the money, the
yeah,
revenues would start coming in?
for sure. I had a lot of savings for, I calculated enough savings for a year without any jobs, but I don't think you need that much. Personally, that's what I did, but there's a lot of, you can do part-time before leaving. You can do, for me, I also took a lot of freelance jobs for other florists. Um, I'm lucky because this industry is very open. You can work for anyone and without being an employee there and learn from there. So I kind of saw that as my own internship because it's a very different path than like for accounting, for example.
Hmm.
So I just like created my own college experience. I went through internships by freelancing for other florists, and I did like online classes with florists that offer that for new businesses, and that's how I did it. But so I think without, if you have to not be afraid of the pay cut, you have to not be afraid of the change.
Yeah, that's good. So you had at least 1 year of savings, but like you mentioned, if someone's listening
Yeah,
to this, and maybe they might need less depending on what their
yep,
situation is. Everyone's situation
yep,
is different.
exactly.
This freelancing, this was also income coming in for you, or were you doing it free?
No, I was getting paid for it. So
Okay. So that's great. Like
um
you said, building that experience at the same time, right?
yeah, yeah. It was amazing for me. It gave me the confidence to think that I could do it, even if I had never done it for a client.
Hmm.
So, like for example, I had never done a full altar floral installation before. But if had a proposal with a client talking to me about having one, because I had that experience with another florist, I could confidently say that I could do it, even though I had never done it for a client. Um, so it was great. It was a great path for me to arrive to where I am. And I'm still learning, I'm still doing that. It's still like a long way to go for me, but it's what has been working so far.
That's great. Yasmin, from a marketing standpoint, what do you do now to drive traffic to your
Yeah.
business?
I have to say, like, the number one thing for me is Instagram, because it's, like I said, very visual,
Hmm.
and people need to see what you can do, what you've been doing before they can book you. So Instagram is like becoming a like live portfolio for a lot of us in the industry. Um, but also word of mouth is a huge thing. I'm getting a lot of proposals from people who heard of me through past clients. Um, Having a website also helps. I think it's very important. Um, but yeah, for me, number one is Instagram, and I've heard from a lot of florists in the around me, like in the DMV, that that's what it has been for them too.
With Instagram, I'm hearing that the organic is has sort of decreased compared to how it was in the past. I don't know if you've seen it lately, but how are even people finding you in the first place in Instagram? Are they searching flower arrangements or certain terms or other ways? I don't know if you're advertising through there or.
So both, they are searching for like those keywords, like florists in the DMV, event florists, but also I use in advertising. But I think also the third thing I would add is getting tagged through other vendors' page. That helps a lot if they see that you've worked with someone they want to hire or that they're interested in. Um, and even like if they're looking through their page and they would land up to yours. So that also is very helpful.
So I guess they're in another florist page in Instagram, and then that florist tags you, or no?
Not automatically a florist, but I would say a planner or a photographer or any
Uh,
other vendor that works in the wedding industry helps a lot.
it's almost like a referral partner there, as far
Yeah,
as, yeah, that's great.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And it works both ways, like I have referred other vendors that were needed for my bride. If you work with someone and they're amazing, then why not recommend them?
Yeah. No, no, I agree. You're helping each other out. I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What would you say drives and motivates you?
Um, I think throughout all of the hardship, because it's very difficult, it's very labor intensive. I think really what drives me is knowing that I'll be doing something different and something new, and that it would be entirely like my own creation, my own design. I think that that's like really the adrenaline boost that I need. It's like my favorite part, like getting through the event and having those flower buckets in front of me and just seeing the blank canvas and it's my time to shine. I can just start and build something. I think it's amazing.
Almost like an artist.
It almost like I was never considered the artist growing up. It was always my sister. Like she was so artsy and like different types of arts, like painting, beads, like jewelry, a lot of different things she was making, but it was never me. So finding like this medium that is flowers to express myself almost as an artist, it just feels amazing.
Yasmin, does I guess it may vary depending on the arrangement. Like how, obviously this all takes a lot of time depending, right? Like on average, how long does it take to do an arrangement?
So a small arrangement can take like 15 to 30 minutes, and then the big ones can take up to 2 hours. And then floral installations like big altars or like those arch
Hmm.
floral art that can take up to 4 hours. Um, like it really depends on how many flowers you're putting. But yeah, some of them can take more time. I would say the hardest part would be like processing the flowers, like prepping them before you design. That takes a lot of time.
Where do you typically get your flowers? Do you have a go-to source that you like to use?
Yeah, I have a wholesaler in Potomac.
Okay.
There's also a lot of farms that we work with that are amazing. Um, so yeah, I'm very lucky to be in a space where we have options, we have accessibility. So it's great. It has been great so far.
What advice would you give someone if they wanted to start their own business? Maybe it's in the floral industry, maybe it's not, totally different. Any pointers?
Hmm. Um, I would say just do it. Don't overthink anything. If it's something you are passionate about and that you can see yourself doing for a long time, then do it and don't give up if it gets hard because it will get hard. Um, you just have to thrive and go through it. Just live for the proud moments.
Speaking about getting hard, because it will get hard, and I completely agree with you. During this year or so that you've opened a business, I'm sure you've had some setbacks, maybe some bigger than others or smaller. Anything that come to mind as far as maybe your favorite fail and what did you learn from that?
Yeah. Well, I don't know that there is any failure so far. There's always like mistakes that when I think about, I reflect and I'm like, oh, I should have done that differently, or next time I better watch out for this. Uh, but definitely like the hardest moment for me was one day after breaking down for an event. We were done and everything went great. We were picking up everything. I was going home. It was 3 a.m. I was very tired. I took like everything that was left in the car, carried it home, and right when I was leaving the elevator, I dropped a mug on my toe and it started swelling. It was so painful. I ended up losing the nail. I hope it's gonna grow back. I don't know yet. But it was just I felt so exhausted because it's
Hmm.
very labor intensive, and I was like ready to give up. I was like, I don't think I can do this. It's a lot on me. Um, but then I just realized it's just I need to have more help. I need to have more freelancers and more hands and divide the work. It's not something you can do by yourself.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
but
from that moment, then you decided to hire some people on a freelance basis?
yeah. So the great thing about this industry, like I mentioned, is that we there's access to freelancers who have like years of experience. A lot of the time, if not every time, they know more than me because they've been doing it forever. But
Hmm.
it's people who choose to not have a business or maybe have a business and also share their knowledge, and they would just come and work for however many hours you need them to, and would get paid hourly.
Hmm.
And it's amazing. It has been amazing so far. I'm so grateful that it's easier for this industry than for another because there are freelancers that can help you through this process.
Where do you find these freelancers? I don't know. Is there a platform or app that that's out there to use in
Um,
the industry?
if there is a platform, I would love to know about it. I've been just using word of mouth and Instagram and just talking to people, and that's how I've been meeting new freelancers.
Sure. So besides these freelancers, Yasmin, you're practically doing everything in the business, right?
Yeah,
Wearing
yeah,
all the hats right now. How is
yeah.
that? Or how do you prioritize, let's say, your schedule and day?
So for like an event week, it's very straightforward. It's always like the same process. The first day would be maybe on a Tuesday, it's about like picking up the flowers, and then Wednesday would be processing, and then starting like small arrangements that will stay in water, that would stay fresh, and then the following day would be like the full design day leading up to the event day. Um, but I would say like proposals I work on. I try to work on right after I have a meeting with the client. So that's like always my priority.
Hmm.
Um, other and like ordering flowers also like that's also something I work on. I try to work on those things in the morning when I'm fresh. Um, and then the rest is posting on Instagram and getting pictures back from photographers that I can use. So that's how I work on everything. I try to prioritize things because there's always a million things that have to get done or
Hmm.
that are on my list to do, but I always try to see like what is really needed right now.
So
And
from
it's hard. Like I don't always do the best at that, but I try.
so from the sounds of it, sounds like the first part of the day, the beginning of the morning, is proposals and
Yeah.
emails out, and then the second half is more on the marketing and the Instagram.
Yeah. Because the Instagram can take a long time, so I just leave it second.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah.
So as far as the creation, you do that, I guess, in the evenings at night, or when does that happen?
No, if it's a production week, then Instagram is usually not tackled most of the times. Um, because design takes priority. Like if I have an event that weekend, then it would be like that's my focus for the day.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Do you have any specific habits or traits you feel that have helped you, whether for the business or just for the personal side of things?
Um, I don't know about habits. I know about mindsets. I try to always like stay positive and see the best of any situation. Like if something went wrong, I didn't get the right flower, um, or I didn't get the right help, then I try to think about the best solution, the best approach to stay positive, show that the client, show to the client that everything is the way they would want it. I think there's a lot of things that can come up, especially when you have an event that weren't planned or didn't go the way you want it, and there's always it's always things that could break the event if you don't deal with them properly. Um, so I think knowing that prepares me a lot because I always like try to do my best so that things go perfectly, but I always know that when I get to that point, when I get to that week, um, there will be things that didn't go as planned, and I just have to be flexible. That's always what I tell myself, like be ready for things that were not the way you wanted them, and just at that point you just let go of the image you wanted and just work around what happened.
Sometimes we can almost be our worst critic, especially when you're wearing all the hats. And like you said,
Yeah.
things happen. You cannot foresee everything. So, do you ever get yourself in a moment where maybe you're thinking negatively or something, or you're down, whether an event didn't work out, or the marketing or the sales isn't what you wanted, or and what? How do you get out of that? Especially you being alone and wearing everything right now, doing everything.
Well, it's hard. Sometimes I like
I'm
look at a
sure.
picture of like something I designed and I'm like, oh gosh, I wish I just took a step back and look at it so I could have fixed that. And I mean, I talked through it to my fiance most of the time, and he just like makes me realize that I'm I'm being too picky, and I have to I have to accept that it's done and that I'm the only one who will see that way.
Yeah. You said you talk with who?
My fiance, he has
Okay.
been a very very helpful person through the entire process to just like keep me grounded and push me like through it all. He he's someone who's very disciplined in life, and I think because I met him and I've known that type of discipline, I was able to make that switch because I've seen him like thrive every day, like waking up super early, going to the gym every single day, and he never like complains or sees it as like an extra effort that he makes. It's just he made the decision to do something and he keeps going. Um, and I think that's something like that's a trait that most entrepreneurs need if they want to keep growing in their business. Um, you need to keep your discipline. Like you have to keep going every day.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Consistency is key. And I
Yeah,
think for me myself, I also every morning wake up and work out. And I think that's helped me besides just forget the physical, it's just more of the mind for me
yeah,
that it just helps, especially with business, because like you said, you're going to be hit many times
yep,
with things. And it's just like, okay, yes.
yep. Well,
Does
that's
does
amazing that you
does he
work
ha-
out every
does he
day.
happen to have his own business as well, or no? Your
Yeah, yeah.
fiance?
He also does. He's
Okay.
an entrepreneur as well. He's in retail. And I think, yeah, being with someone like that sees it, that sees the corporate world a certain way, and that has always tried to make it on his own, um, definitely like helped me think things through and want that for me as well.
What would you say, Yasmine, is your biggest challenge with your role today at the Capital Flower Fairy?
My biggest challenge. Hmm, that's a hard question. Um, I think my biggest challenge would be my own limits. So it would be it would be like knowing what the priority is, because there's always something to work on. Um, and for me, sometimes it gets hard, like figuring out like what should I start with, what my attention should be focusing towards, because there's no one to tell you, this is what you have to do, this is what's due now, this is what I want next week. Like
Mhm.
it falls on you. um, so yeah, especially if you are someone who started their professional life in a setting like that, where you always have a boss or supervisor telling you what to do, um, and you just all of a sudden don't have anyone. I mean, for me, I think that's the hardest thing.
Yeah. No, no, it's true, especially if you're coming from the sort of corporate environment, right? And now you're
Yeah,
going
yeah,
off on your own and that person does not exist. It's just you doing everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You always come across that. I personally try to focus on sort of income producing activities. Like what can I do right
Mm-hmm.
now to bring in revenue or sales? And obviously it's not going to bear fruit today, but
Yeah,
in the future, because everything you do today, whatever activity, it's going to hopefully lead to something down the road in the future. And
yeah,
but then, like you said, then you can get sidetracked with you saw this thing, or you're replying then to this email, or you're thinking about marketing ideas. You're like, oh, okay. So
yeah,
you can be everywhere at once.
exactly. Yeah, that's that.
What do you know now that you wish you would have known at the start of your business career?
Um, I well, now I know that I can get to where I want to. Um, at the start, I wasn't sure if I would ever like book a wedding. I like was asking myself, are people only going to buy bouquets and arrangements from me? Will I get to a point where someone trusts me enough to like have their wedding on my in my hands? Um, and I think, if I knew it, maybe I would have focused my marketing towards that earlier, or I would have prepared for it sooner, or even maybe I would have done more style shoots for just like for weddings. So, I mean, it serves me as a lesson to know that I will get to where I want in the future, and that I just have to keep going and start putting it out there from now without waiting. Um, you have to show to the world what you're capable of before the world trusts you to do it.
Like that. When you're in creating mode and you're working on the arrangement, are you doing that from where? From home or somewhere else? Or
Yeah, yeah. I do everything from home. Sometimes I get lucky and the venue like lets me be there a day or two earlier, so I can design there. But otherwise, everything comes from home.
good. Jasmine, when you hear the word success, what's the first thing that comes to mind? What do you think of?
Happiness. I just think about, um, reaching your goals and being happy, because to me that's the goal. It's to be happy and proud of myself and my accomplishments. Um, so it's just working your way up. I think that's what I call success.
Speaking about goals, and we're coming to an end here soon, what does the future look like for you in the business? What are you most excited about for the next couple of years?
Well, for the next year, I'm excited about bigger weddings. Really happy to see those coming in. But for the for the next 5 years, I would say I'm very excited to see my business grow in other aspects, like probably in hotels and restaurants. But also my goal is really to work with like commercial brand, like commercial um more in the commercial side, like people who need flowers, like I said, on from maybe a video clip or um a store window or a photo shoot, something different that allows me to create and where I have free range to do something that we haven't seen before and that isn't conventional as conventional as what we would do for a wedding, for example.
I like that. When you're not busy running the business, what do you like to do for fun in your free time?
I love working out. I love spending time with my family. I was there the past couple of weeks. So it was great because I have younger siblings that are still back home. So I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed having the freedom to just take off and be there. Whereas before I had to do PTO and I didn't have a lot of days. So that's amazing that I get to do that and enjoy my time more.
That's amazing. You were just there. How long were you there for?
Yeah, so we went to Morocco for 2 weeks and then Algeria for another 2 weeks because my fiance is from Morocco and I'm from Algeria.
Okay.
Unfortunately, even though we share a border, we had to go through Tunisia and then back because of political issues that the countries are having. Hopefully, one day we can just take a car and cross the border.
Hmm. That's
Yeah.
nice. A month. That's a very nice trip.
Yep. 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 It
That's
was it
good.
was very nice.
Do you go back often home, or when was the last time you went back?
Uh, the last time was July of last year, so a year
Oh
and
yeah.
a few months.
Okay, so you go pretty often.
Yeah. Yeah. I try to.
Okay. Where can people find out more information, Yasmin? They hear this, they're interested, they want to see, they want to get in touch with you. Where can they go to, please?
Yeah, they can definitely reach out through my Instagram or through my phone all of my contact will be listed on my bio and the name is the underscore capital underscore flower underscore fairy, so it's the capital flower fairy. um, and I have a website available as well that has all of the information.
Fantastic. Yasmin, thank you so much for coming on today. Had a fun time.
No, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed our talk.
Me too. Take care.
Take care. Bye, Otto.
Bye.